Now we have two very different approaches where one says that a person really has the ability to make decisions in life and to channel his life in one direction or another, and maybe he doesn't have absolute influence, but he has a lot of influence over his life. Where the counter approach says that everything is in the hands of heavens, that there is some kind of fate, a person has no ability to choose anything in life, and everything works according to some predetermined roadmap. And we wanted to, on this show, we wanted to have a discussion, elaborate our knowledge on the matter, and start with the question of what do you think? Does a person have the ability to influence what happens in his life, or are things absolute and he's not choosing anything? My first profession is biocybernetics. It's about the systems in man's body, because in our body there are many systems that control our body, sustain it, and lead it towards a certain role, goal. According to my profession, a person has no free choice because it's a biological system that exists. In the system, there is data with which a person's born with. He inherited it. There is data that he gets from education, from the air, it doesn't matter where from, but he gets it from the inside and from the outside. Meaning here, a person has no ability of doing anything in the meantime. I'm talking about a person off the street. But he has inner factors that he was born with, that he got from his parents and from his education, and that's how he develops. Now the question, does a person choose additional factors by which he can change or not? And here comes the question. When he chooses, then he chooses based on what? Isn't it based on what he already had before? What he has on the inside that he got from his parents and what he got from the outside, from the environment and his education? Where else could it come from? And even if something else fell upon him from the heavens, it's also not up to him. It fell, and then he takes it into consideration and keeps on going. Meaning we have to understand that what we think of as a person's own free choice, from the data that's set before him in some random way, is not random, and there's no freedom here whatsoever. It's simply not knowing the system, that everything in nature is one big system called nature or godliness, and in the system there are different subsystems and they're all interconnected. And there's nothing random. Everything is deterministic, meaning rigidly connected, thoroughly, and that's how it works. So, when we're talking about a human being, then he's a creature that is as if ordered this way by his inner nature and by the surrounding nature. And therefore, to relate to him as someone who makes free, independent decisions, that's not possible. If so, then, how can we relate to a person who does good things or bad things? The truth is, we can't. We can't. If we look at a certain machine, suppose, correctly, and if some part breaks down, then we have to either understand that this part, it broke down because of some inner defect, that his matter was defected in one way or another, or because of external matters that were in contact with it, caused it to break down. Where else can it come from? And therefore, were we to correctly understand the system, feel it, we would see that it's impossible to punish a person. And therefore, also like we learn from the Torah, there are no punishments. It's not a punishment, it's a correction. That we put a person into such systems that he changes by us changing one's external factors. And then by that, we correct him. We correct his direction in life. And therefore, when we say that everything is in the hands of heavens, or it isn't, part is, heavens, here meaning that unknown factor, that this is how we relate to it. That if it's unknown, then we simply have to try and somehow be in contact with it in order to correct ourselves. What does it mean to correct ourselves? If I'm not deciding on anything, then, as you said, nothing is flawed or nothing's good because it's not in my responsibility. There's a manufacturer and it's his problem. If so, the question is, what do we exist for? What? So that's the question. If really everything is completely that nothing depends on me and I am as an operated part in a general machine where I don't do anything myself, but it's all being done on me. So what's the point then? What's the meaning of life then? Then there's no meaning. There's no rationale to it. No rationale. And here we really have a question. What is it all for? And why? And therefore, here we come to the question, is there free choice? Meaning a free action in a person's life that if he realizes it, carries it out, then he's called a free human being, and really in order to perform that action, he was born and he lives from incarnation to incarnation, and so do also billions of people. So it's worthwhile for us to scrutinize what is that free action. Maybe it's tiny, that my entire life revolves around in order for us to finally realize it. And then really the meaning of life, the essence of life, bursts out, grows out of that action called free choice.